All right, we're at Third Dimension Tattoo, and where the hell is this?
We're in Marshalls Creek, Pennsylvania.
There you go, Marshalls Creek, Pennsylvania.
East Stroudsburg, the Poconos, Shawnee Ski Mountain, and I think let's see, that would be the closest one, Shawnee.
And we're here with Brian Murphy. Brian Murphy, and if you're into ink and you're into tattoos, and maybe if you're just into art, you very well may already know who he is. He's built an incredible following, a hell of a reputation, very well respected in his field. But and this is his tattoo shop that we're sitting in, and it's just extremely impressive. He's all around impressive guy, good physique.
Thank you, man.
Very healthy, races quads.
Yeah.
Now,
ATVs.
Reclaiming his life, back to doing some things that he enjoyed doing as a youngster, and now he's 47.
47, yeah.
In excellent condition, right?
Came back after 28 years.
So you would figure, you would look at a guy like this and think super successful, man, just over the top, just home run out of the park, easy life, silver spoon, right? But not the case. Not the case. It's an incredible success story. It's incredibly motivating to me. I think it's just indomitable spirit. It's just a testimony to what the human spirit, an indomitable spirit and determination and hard work can accomplish. So can you talk a little bit about where you come from and how your life has changed?
Basically, originally I'm from Staten Island, New York, and I guess to kind of as far as that aspect, where I struggled with addiction. I became a heroin addict when I was 16. I was living on my own because of some family problems, and a friend of mine that I had known for years, he used to sell weed, and we would smoke weed and stuff back in the day, listen to Black Sabbath and kind of,
Right.
all of that. And one day he told me that he said he had snorting tea, and that was basically, he told me it was the same thing as marijuana, but it was basically a snorting version of THC, which would,
Okay.
Anyway, make a long story short, I ended up doing it. It ended up being heroin. I didn't know
Oh,
that.
my
I didn't
God.
even know that it was heroin. And then the girl we were hanging out with called us the next day and had told us, do you know what you did last night? That was heroin. And I was terrified when I, had found out, but never didn't do it again after that. I'd say probably about almost like a year later, stuff had happened with my relationship and my family, and I was in a depressed state, and a person I knew came over, and they happened to have some stuff on them, and they had given me one bag of heroin, and I did a little tiny bit, and made all that emotional pain go away. I felt like okay, finally, for the first time in a long time.
So it just felt like a relief.
Yeah,
Just like a break to get the load off of you.
exactly. And basically what had happened was, so I did it, the pain went away, I didn't care about anything, everything was fine, slept well for the first time. The next day, probably around 5 o'clock, I had a little bit of a weird headache, and I get migraines often, so it's like I had it. I said, I'll just do had done another little tiny bit. I mean, this was one bag of heroin that lasted me about a week, and but skip down the road a little bit. It ended up being that after doing it for 5 to 7 days every day, I had noticed I was just watching MTV back in the day when they used to make videos and stuff, and I had this feeling come upon me, like an extreme emotional feeling and a fatigue that I've never felt before, very uncomfortable, and I feel at that point, that early on, I've already started to experience mild withdrawal symptoms,
Wow.
being that quickly, into using it, that mixed with just not making good choices and just kind of being in a shitty situation, made the wrong choices and continued to do it. And from that, I ended up one day trying to get on some kind of medical insurance, and it was very hard to get drugs back in the day. I lived in Staten Island. Now they're all over the place, but back then heroin wasn't a drug, and it was very difficult to get. We used to have to go to Harlem or the Lower East Side to get it. And someone had said, "Oh, why don't you go on methadone? Because if you go on methadone, then you won't have to worry about getting drugs, and when you get high,
Right.
you get." I did that at a young. I think it was 16 or 17 years old, and the long-acting opiates really grab you, and they're very difficult to get off of. And from that, just continued to make bad decisions. Got arrested numerous times in the Lower East Side. Went to Rikers Island for a little bit for all drug charges. Thankfully, I never did anything to hurt anybody. I just basically did, getting caught doing drugs, buying, that kind of stuff. And from there, it just escalated, continued to
Right.
get worse, the progression. I attempted to go to detox, and I didn't take it serious. I thought that it would be something that I could just stop doing. And the people that had been on drugs for years told me that you're not thinking about, you're not thinking about it right. I don't think you're taking it serious enough. But you'll find out. Anybody that goes through that road will find out that you're not gonna do a Michael Jackson moonwalk and walk away, scot free.
Right.
It's usually comes with unless you're really lucky. I'm sure some people maybe can, but and it got worse. I lost my home, and I had to give up my 2 dogs. Luckily, I did find homes for them, and I ended up in a homeless shelter in Manhattan, and basically from there, just lived all wacky for a while from there, and and then tried to the process of in and out of rehab. I would go to rehab. I'd be clean for a little bit, and then end up messing up again. In Newark, I had overdose once. A police officer saved my life. I had shot something that wasn't even heroin, and it shut me down. And that was one of the many
Pitfalls, close calls. Right.
But
So you were telling me something that you told me long ago too, and you said it again today, and I didn't tell you this, but that really has always stuck with me, the way that you phrased that, and that is that you told me that one of the worst feelings that you ever experienced was that you felt almost like a ghost.
right.
That people didn't see you, that they just saw right past you or through
Right.
you, didn't even recognize that
Right.
you were part of the human race, that you were
Yeah.
a human being, and that you
Yeah.
occupied a space.
Right. Yeah.
Was that like at your lowest point? Is that where it really
I would say it was pretty much. I was in a rehab, and I had somehow convinced them to let me out on a day pass. I had told my dad that I was that they were going to throw. I made up a whole big bullshit story basically, but
Right.
I ended up bringing drugs back to the rehab and getting another habit, in the rehab itself. And then I was kicked out of South Beach rehab, which is in Staten Island, in the middle of the winter, and that's what ended me going to the Salvation Army and ending up having to stay in the shelter system for a little bit. And at that point, I had gotten arrested again, and I was really going through like withdrawal symptoms. I had no money, all of that, and I was sitting on a corner one day, and I think it was up in Upper Manhattan somewhere, and it was just that feeling of the emotional feeling of withdrawing from the drug itself, and just the verbal abuse of the people that lived in the area, along with the just people like walking past me and their feet, kind of, as if I wasn't there, and it's just a very hollow feeling that I would say if I had to choose a feeling along the way, that was pretty much, one of the worst, it would be that, and them rolling around on the floor sick in the jail cells, and and that physical aspect. That would be the physical aspect, and the mental aspect, I would say, would be something along those lines where it started. It was pretty bad.
Did you ever think that you would be here today, like
No.
this, and have this life that you have?
No, I didn't. Like I was telling you before, I thought that in my mind, I thought that that's all I needed in life. Like I had a place to stay through the shelter system. So in my head, I was like, oh, whatever money I get, I could just use for drugs, and then I'll have a place to live. I don't have to really worry about anything, and and that's what I felt I needed out of life, and that's, was pretty much where I.
What do you think that was? Do you think that was at that point? Was that all because of the drug talking to you, or was that your perception that maybe your self-esteem had maybe taken a crash, or did you not feel as if you deserved any more, or you just really didn't feel like you wanted more?
Right. I think that I feel like a lot of opiates actually, I feel like they hijack the dopamine in your brain, and I feel like when you're in that state, which is almost impossible for someone that has not had their brain in that state to understand the psychological aspect of that. So I tell people all the time, because my clients, I've had clients that they would say stuff like, my husband doesn't love me. He's choosing the drug over me. He's choosing alcohol over me, and it's hard to explain, explain that, but it's not that they're actually choosing it. It turns into a chemical reaction. It's like when you get hungry, your body physically.
Right.
There's a lot to it. It's not as simple as, oh, you're a scumbag. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like in that aspect, we're getting better. We're understanding addiction a little bit differently than we once did, where it's not a character assassination now. Not to say that it's not your responsibility, because it surely is, but there is, the way I would compare it is, I feel in a sense it's a disease the same way that if I made horrible choices and smoked cigarettes my whole life, or if I ate poorly and then I developed a type of diabetes. I didn't have diabetes, but my choices in life brought me to be in a position to where now I do have a physical problem, right? So I don't think you're born. You may have a predisposition that may lend itself more to an addictive behavior, but I think that you get what I'm, like that. It could be your choices have made changes in your body that now physically you do have a physical, and with that aspect, it's,
Well, how did how did things turn around?
I'm sorry, I kind of missed you. But as far as my self-esteem and all of that, it's I don't think I cared. I think I was struggling so much, being so concerned about the physical withdrawals of the drug, that led me to do things. I mean, I would go to 110th Street in Amsterdam, and I'm white as a ghost, dude, at 1 o'clock in the morning walking through the project. I was more afraid that I would not get the drug than I was getting robbed or any other. That was the least of my worries. It was just,
So where did it begin to turn around, or is there any pivotal point?
I believe that I slowly started to correct myself before I moved to Pennsylvania, and what had happened was I moved. I did move to Pennsylvania. I was still doing the drugs, but I was at least able to have a place to live. And I had met someone, my ex-girlfriend Martha, and what had happened was one day I had again taken a shot that had shut my. What had happened was like. Picture having to take the worst piss you ever had to take in your life, but you can contract the muscle to push it out. So I didn't pee for like over 24 hours, and
Wow.
I had the most insane anxiety. I was like literally Matrix, like seeing, like waving, like it was bad. I ended up in the emergency room. Martha and her family she was from Poland, and they're not really into like drugs is not something that's on their radar as much over there. That's when she had found out that I was a heroin addict because of me being in that state. They had to contact her with the hospital and everything like that. From that, after that, she was like the Gestapo, So she played a pivotal role in. She wouldn't let anybody near me. If you wanted to come in my house, she's going through your pockets. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That mix, and for about 6 months, I tried to get around it. I tried to figure out ways. One time, I do engraving in glass. I did a custom car that was like a $5,000 glass job, and all I asked was that he would put a bag of heroin under his garbage in his bathroom so that when I took a piss I could like that's how bad it was. Within this 6 month period my mind was totally consumed by this, and I continued to attempt to get around this without making anything obvious, and I had gotten that Pitbull Ozzy, that's his images up there, and he was a baby, and he had a thing called Demodex, and you had to wash him with some chemical. While I was tattooing one day, for the first time in probably almost 20 years, the first normal thought I had was I can't wait to go home and wash the dog. And that was the first thought I had that was not how am I going to get the drugs? How am I going to get around this person that's trying to stop me from getting drugs? Where am I going to get the money for the drugs? What consumed, to say the least,
Right.
mentally consumed. And then one day I wanted to go home and wash my dog. And that in my mind was the light breaking through and giving
Normal.
seeing that feeling and seeing some type of hope in the grand scheme of things. Prior to that, there was complete just darkness in the aspect of hope. I did not see any hope. There was nothing there. And from there, I just hit that. I started focusing on my artwork. I had a couple breakthroughs. I had a lot of publications overseas in Europe. Around 2004, 2005, my artwork had, really gone out, getting out there, and I've got some really good opportunities. I did some shows at some really well-known galleries in Manhattan, and I started to feel that feeling of being high off achieving stuff, and it was way stronger than the other high.
Right.
And so I think that would kind of be like the turning point, if there was a turning point, to it.
So in all this led to where you at today. So what kind of stuff have you achieved? I mean, I'm not asking you to blow your own whistle, but you've achieved some amazing
Thank you,
things
man.
that come from.
Appreciate
I mean,
it.
it's just an incredible story, incredible success.
Yeah, I mean, just
The shit that you've accomplished, all
I-
the magazines that you've been in, and
yeah.
the
Thank
people
you.
you've tattooed and the examples of your work and all the incredible art. I mean, it's
appreciate
just,
it.
and the work that you've done as an editor and with the various magazines and
Yeah.
things, it's just,
It's a lot. I mean,
it's over the top. It's really,
yeah, it's like a
really-
lot of crazy stuff. Like I was saying, it's like my brain used to look at life as life is happening to me, and then I started to understand that we're all artists, and we're all painting and choosing to view life through all these different lenses.
Oh, yeah.
And I started to say, I'm going to use my creativity to paint a better life for myself. And I started to really, like focus on these different elements, and when you believe them and you visualize them. I was always like a drifter. Like I always felt like I worked hard, but I never had a plan. I was like a ship lost at sea, and I feel like a lot of people suffer with that. They work hard. It's not that people are lazy. It's that they don't know where they're going. They know they want to. They know they're working hard. They're trying, but they don't have a destination. And I started to really visualize that, and I started to see that what I was visualizing was actually manifesting in my life. And it sounds crazy when you say it, that like, how the fuck, it don't make sense.
It makes perfect sense.
You know what I'm saying? But it really and when I tell you exceed, I have exceeded 20 times what I would have thought would be an amazing. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely,
Like
yes,
it's
sir.
not only like, you know what I'm saying. And not only like I would say like, oh, if I can only have an apartment and be able to pay my bills, like it has. And I don't mean that in a way that I'm like trying to brag. I'm
No.
just trying to express that for anybody that is even watching this. If you're suffering from depression, or you just feel fucked up and that your life is not going the way that you believe that, you know what I'm saying, that
Right.
that it is there, and it's a matter of changing that frequency. Like we're talking about being in a vehicle. If you get in a vehicle and the first thing you do when you get in your vehicle, you turn the radio on, and if that is not speaking to you, you change the frequency, and you have to continue to change that frequency until you get to that. And even me saying this, I realize that it sounds a little wacky, it sounds a little wacky, but it works. And
proof is in the pudding.
I can't ask. I can't ask for anything more. I can't. I feel very blessed and thankful that I'm where I am right now. And I would like to see other people change that frame of mind that they have, because I know a lot of people that are great people, and I know that they bust their asses and they have good intentions, but they don't believe that things can change, and they just feel like you have to create the opportunity. You have to make like take the ATV racing, right? The ATV racing is, I haven't raced in 28 years. I felt like it was something that was taken away from me because of the addiction and stuff. So I decided at 47 I was going to start to race ATVs again, and with that, I'm going into it blindly. I don't have a great mechanic. I don't know the setups. I don't know. These guys have shit they know what they're doing, right? But in that process, and positive thinking and all of that, one day I'm in here, I'm doing a tattoo on someone, and I happen to have a Yamaha shirt on, and the guy says to me, hey, are you into four-wheelers and all of that? And I said, yeah. well, you know something? He goes, a friend of mine is factory Yamaha's mechanic. He says to me, his factory Yamaha's, and he only lives 30 miles from here. If you want, I'll give you his phone number. You know, so what I'm trying to say is that the universe will give you the material, but you have to sculpt it. You can't expect it to. It's not going to sculpt
100%.
itself.
100%.
You know what I'm
man.
sayan?
Yeah.
It'll give it. It'll give you the shit.
Yeah.
But you got to take that shit and you got to, you know, do it. You got to make your shit. Like,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's
Dude,
not going to put.
I've seen it. You know, I've lived it. I have seen it. I've seen it, man.
You can't just
I've
like if
seen
you
it.
wait. If you wait, some people the right opportunity's not coming. If you visualize something and then you create a path to get to that and do the work and accept the downfalls and the failures and and all of that. I believe that the universe will repay. It does. You do your part, and it mirrors your part. You don't put effort; it doesn't put effort. It's like a ping pong game, you know.
Right. Right.
I mean, that's how I see it, at least. You know.
Well, that's awesome. I think it's just, like I said, I think it's an incredibly motivating story, man, for
Thank
anybody
you, man.
out there. And there's a lot of us, there's a lot of brothers and sisters out there, man, that are going through all kinds of stuff, man. I hear it all, I've seen it. You know, we work with a lot of different people. We have just our everyday crew in and out, man. We have various people dealing with different things, and people help out, and people chip in, and we get it done. But exactly like you said, if you individually don't take the responsibility, the initiative to take the materials and the resources and to sculpt it into whatever it is you're after.
Right. And make it your business to get around other positive energy. That is the key. Without the energy, without that woman in there, and that you know, you have to put the pieces around you to give yourself an environment that's going to be conducive to growth.
Right.
If
Right.
you
Right.
put, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
Like, and when they used to tell me in rehab, they would say people, places, and things. I'm looking at it on like a superficial level. I'm like, oh, what's the difference if I go hang out with fucking Joe again, or if I, you know what I'm saying, or you know what I'm saying? But what's meant by that is that when you're around that negative energy, it will contaminate you. It will bring you down before you bring it up. So I think putting yourself in near and around other positive energy will not only uplift yourself, but will uplift
Right.
that.
Right.
You know, as a
contribute
unit,
to the overall
right. Like a
positive charge.
Voltron, like a
Like
human.
a giant transformer.
Right.
Everybody's pulling energy.
Exactly, a
and
giant
exchanging
Voltron.
energy. Yeah.
Yes. It's a giant Voltron. That's what we're meant to be. We're all meant to be in there, full blast. But the way everything is designed nowadays, again, what we were talking about with the way politics and the media is nowadays, we're in this environment that is all about division. They're going to divide you because of your race, your religion. They're going to divide you if you're a man or if you're a woman, if you love God, if you don't love God, if you drink Coke, if you drink Pepsi, if you drive a Ram and you don't drive an F-150. Everything is all about that, because they know that when people begin to communicate and they get on the same frequencies and we can communicate, how fast that spreads and how much power is within that.
Yeah, man. Networking, what we do, networking is everything, man. Everything. The broader that network and the more that it spreads and that positivity becomes contagious, and the more you bring it to the fold, positive, the more you can do, the more you can accomplish.
Exactly.
Just, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but you gotta, you know, if you don't, I feel like if you don't believe that,
And you
if you
gotta,
don't, you know,
you
if
gotta
you don't
engage.
believe that,
You gotta engage.
Right.
You gotta do your part.
right,
You know?
do the work, believe in it, and
Yeah.
and understand that
And
it's a
exchange
process.
with the universe.
Yeah.
You know?
But if you don't believe it, you're just gonna be like, oh, whatever, this dude's a fucking moron. But you know, I mean, that's Like for instance, I know people, like you see these network marketing companies, and yes, some of them are fugazi, right? Some of them fugazi. I personally know, and I'll show you what I personally know. People, this one guy used to come here. He's from East Brooklyn, and he told me about it. I said, that thing's bullshit. It's a pyramid scheme. It's blah blah all of this. This guy turns around. I'm gonna show you his Instagram. He is a multi. I watched this kid go from nothing to living in Boca Raton, Florida, driving around and friggin'. I mean, it's not about the money, but you understand what I'm saying. It's just about that process. This kid came from nothing and just totally destroyed it because he believed in the process and he believed and he did the work. Where you could have gave that same opportunity to 100 people.
Yes.
That same, right? That
yes.
same. So like I could give you that opportunity, give that and that, right? But this man right here comes out on top, and that person out there don't do shit with it. So is it the opportunity that's wrong, or is it the frame of mind that's
correct?
Wrong?
Right.
You have to ask yourself that, and that's
seen that too, man. Seen that too.
You know?
Yeah. Where no matter how many resources you push to somebody, if they're not ready, if they're not willing to do their part, if they're not for real,
yeah,
then they don't profit from it at all. It's just squandered.
Right.
You know? Yeah, seen that too. Not every story is a success story. But hopefully, ideally, every story could be a success story eventually.
Right.
You know, so never give up, man. Never say die.
Yeah, you have a choice every day when you wake up.
Every
you,
day
you
when
could
you wake
wake
up
up and look at life through any lens you want.
One thing that we all have in common, every single day you live to open your eyes the next morning, you have opportunity.
Yep.
You have opportunity and free will.
Yeah.
The great equalizer.
It's like what I feel like happens is with what I believe the media does to people on a daily basis. It's like they pull up outside in a brand new Lamborghini, right? And everyone will look at that. Most people look at that. Oh wow, look at that beautiful car, right? They'll take the camera, they'll lay underneath the car, and they'll point it at the rust on the bolt on the exhaust underneath. Look at Lamborghini, this thing's a piece of shit, it's built like crap, it's right, and they'll choose to focus on, right, we have a beautiful country, this country's amazing, it's an amazing country, but what they'll do is they'll find the few little aspects and they'll take a microscope and point at them and
magnify
and if you're not aware,
that's everything in the frame.
Exactly. And if you're not aware enough, you believe in your mind and start to believe you're in this decaying environment. And when you believe you're in a decaying environment, your mental state begins to decay also. You know, if you believe that you're in a thriving, healthy environment with people that are positive and all of that, your mind begins to elevate itself. And that's what they do to us every day.
So you're in control. You're in control. The only thing that you're ever going to be able to control ultimately is you. If you control yourself, then you are in control of all there is. If you control you, you're in control. And even when people think they don't have choices or alternatives, you do. Everything that you decide to do, no matter what the given situation is, it's your choice. It's a choice. There are choices. There are always choices. There are always opportunities. It's what you're going to do. It's all about what you're going to do, how you perceive it, how you digest it.